if we could get started again, move this along. Gentlemen, if you would please give a brief 30-second introduction of yourself. We'll start with you, Mr. Martin. Again, if we could please have your attention. If you'd like to have a conversation, maybe tone it down a little, but let's give these gentlemen our attention and respect. Mr. Martin, if you, just a 30-second introduction of yourself.
Hello, my name's Terry Martin. A lot of you know me from Tatesville State Forest since 2001. I'm glad to be here.
Mr. Smith.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. First, I just want to commend my brothers here that have served law enforcement for many years. We're going through some really tough times right now, and I really just applaud their service and what they've done and the other first responders that are here. My name's A.J. Smith. People know me by Tony. I grew up in 2 Mile, graduated from Apalachicola High School, worked here for Jack Taylor for about 6 or 8 years, went to Tallahassee and was a deputy sheriff there, was promoted, went to the state fire marshal's office as an arson investigator. Okay.
Captain Segree.
Good evening, everyone. Just like Tony, I'd like to commend our brothers and sisters that's in law enforcement across the United States. We've got a lot that we're working for and a lot that we're working towards. But again, Brad Segree, I was born and raised right here in Franklin County. My mom and dad, Larry and Clipper Segree of East Point. I've been married to my wife, Teresa, for 23 years. We are raising our 3 kids here in Franklin County, in the county that I love and the county that I'm dedicated to. Thank you.
Here we go. I'll start with you, Captain Segree. According to recent Florida State statistics for the year 2015, crime in Franklin County has increased by 27%, and only 22% of all crime cases were solved. Of course, we all know statistics can be manipulated. But if you are elected, what steps would you take immediately to attempt to improve these statistics with resolving a higher percentage rate than 22%?
If elected as your sheriff, I would immediately want to take a look at those statistics myself, along with the guys that's at the office now, to try to confirm that information. We have a guy named Ryan Sandoval who does our UCRs for us, and I think that he has done a great job there. I think that the statistics may be wrong, but that's something we would have to look at. I believe our guys at the Sheriff's Office has done a wonderful job for Franklin County. I think through more education, more training, our guys could even improve on what they've already done for our wonderful county.
Mr. Smith? What actions would you take immediately with a goal of resolving and solving more crimes successfully?
That's a great question, because we did see some rise in the crime stats here in Franklin County. Probably most of the crimes are related to drugs. People trying to get the money to buy drugs are committing property crimes. I'd probably take a hard stance on the drug problem that's occurring here. I'd put resources onto the problems. Wherever the burglaries were occurring, that's where the resources would go. That's where the money would be spent to solve those crimes. But it is a deeper issue. You can't arrest your way out of the drug problem, but I think everybody understands, and that's what I hear as I go across the county, that we have a huge issue with drugs, and that is also closely tied to some of these other crimes. So that's immediately probably what I would look at. Thank you.
Martin?
Crime throughout my career, the best way to deal with crime is dealing with the public by having your officers out there meeting the public and getting first-hand knowledge of who's doing what and where it's going on. And I'd have units available to work them crimes if in fact they are going up.
Thank you. Okay, I had to do a little research to come up with this one. And we'll start with you, Mr. Martin. We're hearing a lot in the news lately about a concept that's not a new concept. It's the concept and the notion of community policing. And for the audience's sake, community policing is a recognition that social disorders and fear of crime both significantly affect the quality of life and have been shown to be important contributors to crime. It's also important for police and the communities they serve to develop a shared understanding of their primary mission and goals. According to this concept, the public should be involved in shaping the role of the police and the prioritization of public safety problems. If elected, what would you do to reach out to potential partners such as government agencies, businesses, churches, nonprofits, individual community members, and the media to attempt to accomplish a goal of developing solutions throughout cooperative problem solving and improving public trust? How would you work with the community to advance the goals of the Sheriff's Department?
I would hold regular meetings with our business leaders, with our community leaders, and come up with a solution, maybe work with volunteers to bring them into play and help solve some of these problems and just make them contacts on a regular basis.
Mr. Smith, I'm sure you don't need me to repeat the question, but in summary, what would you do if elected sheriff to reach out to the community to help formulate a goal and a plan for problem solving and improving public trust?
I just want to know who wrote that question. They spent a long time. Because really and truly, it's a very simple question. It's about public trust and community policing, which when I started in 1980, we were doing community policing. The technology today has kind of reduced some of the community policing that we do because we have computers in the cars, we have iPhones, we're riding around with our windows up, we have our personal phones. There's so much technology going on that law enforcement officers are not out in the community like they used to be. And I think that's one of the things I want to see is mandating that officers, deputies, work closer with the community in communicating. Just stop and see what they're doing. Go in businesses, stop in homes. That's the kind of thing we had to do back in the 80s. We had to stop somewhere if we wanted to use the telephone. We had to do those kinds of things. And I think building the public trust will increase as we interact with the community more in very positive ways. Whether it's stopping to help a grandmother put her groceries in the car at the Piggly Wiggly or a flat tire. Those are the kinds of things we need to be doing.
Captain Seagreen?
One of my biggest goals as well, that we do have the community policing. I've worked here for 24 years, and I've worked hand in hand with our community out in Lanark, St. George Island. I have helped develop the community patrol that we do have. I do agree that our deputy sheriffs should have a closer working relationship, if you will, with our communities. But I think the number one way that can happen is with a strong leader. I believe that I am that strong leader, and I believe as that leader gets out there, these deputy sheriffs, our law enforcement community, will get back in our communities and do what our communities are asking of us each and every day.
Thank you. Okay, would like to start with you this time, Mr. Smith.
Another long one?
No. We're very fortunate, obviously, living here in Franklin County, and I think that's why most of us choose to make this our home, that we are not directly connected to the events that are of a terrorist nature. However, horrible things do happen in small counties and small communities. The question is, in being prepared for such a tragic event as a mass shooting, please elaborate on what type of training, equipment, etc., you would implement and procure to ensure that the Franklin County Sheriff's Department is prepared in the case of such an event to protect the citizens of Franklin County.
You're talking about some kind of terrorist attack?
In the event of something like Sandy Hook.
Well, that's certainly any kind of catastrophic event like that. We see a lot of natural disasters here, hurricanes, fires, floods, things like that. We haven't seen a terrorist event here. But there are a lot of active shooter scenarios that happen across the country. I think every deputy sheriff should be trained on active shooter scenarios. Our school system should be trained. All the first responders, we need to be working very closely together so that we know what each entity is going to do in the case of an active shooter situation. And we can't be an island. We have to continue to practice these scenarios and work together. And we even need to involve the public so they know what to be on the lookout for if something like this should occur. Thank you.
Captain Sigri, what are your thoughts in that regard to making sure that our local law enforcement is prepared in the event of a raid at the school or some other mass shooting or mass violence incident?
At the present time, each and every officer that we have at Franklin County Sheriff's Office is educated and has been trained in the incident command system, which goes along with our emergency management operations. It helps us in communication. We have also implemented, and we've got a training coming up with the active shooter program. We trained last summer here at the ABC school in Apalachicola. We've trained at the high school over in East Point. We have some guys that works with us that are very professional when it comes to our active shooter training. We work hard in that area. We plan hard for such an incident as that, and we pray each day that we never have to face that.
Martin?
And I would expand on ICS or incident command systems to include not only the sheriff's deputies, but our first responders, our paramedics, right on up the line, maybe through some kind of federal funding or grants to get the training to everybody that needs it so everybody will be on that same page in case of some kind of catastrophe or terrorist incident that you're speaking of. Lord forbid we don't never get it here. But I'd strive to have that training for everybody, including active shooter right on down the line.
For our fourth question, I'm just going to randomly ask the three of you 3 different questions that have been submitted. Who wants the first one? I said for your fourth question, I'm going to randomly ask you each one of 3 questions that have been submitted. Who wants the first one? Okay. We'll start with you, Captain Sigri. The population of Franklin County is about 11,750. The population of St. George Island swells to over 12,000 people during spring break and summer. Would you support a seasonal substation on St. George Island? The residents are very concerned about crowded parking, illegal operations of golf carts, and especially by very young children. What's your response to that question from the St. George Island resident?
Absolutely, I would support a substation on St. George Island. We had that some time back. I believe it was there under Sheriff Barnes. And it's definitely an important aspect that they need over on St. George Island. So absolutely, I would be in full support of that substation.
Thank you. Mr. Smith? No. Different question. This question also, though, originated with a St. George Island constituent who expressed frustration in connection with auto accident reporting in the process. And apparently, these reports are most often prepared by Florida Highway Patrol officers with travel time to the island that's often substantially extending the time that individuals involved must wait at the scene for the FHP officer to arrive. Understanding, are these not duties that the Franklin County Sheriff's Department deputies could facilitate? Is it a matter of training? Please explain.
I've never worked anywhere where deputy sheriffs didn't work traffic accidents, and if they're not working accidents here, they need to work them, because it's unacceptable for people to have to wait an hour or 2 hours for a trooper to arrive on scene. If it's a fatality or some kind of really serious accident, then it can be worked in conjunction. But deputies will work traffic accidents if I'm elected. Thank you. It's all about customer service.
Mr. Martin? This one might not be a popular one, but since many drug busts occur through random traffic stops, would you be willing to commit to increasing roadblocks in the county to catch people who are under the influence of drugs and alcohol or in possession of drugs?
I certainly would be in favor of that, and I would urge that all deputies work details just to deter that off our roadways.
And finally, I'll ask you all the same question. With sincerity, I ask you to tell us what drives you or compels you to run for office, the office that is the highest law enforcement official in Franklin County. And in regard to that decision, what is your interpretation, sincerely and from the heart, of the phrase, to protect and serve?
I spoke of it earlier. What drives me to reach the highest department, the highest spot you could achieve at the sheriff's office is sheriff, and that is my 3 children, along with all of our children in Franklin County. We've got to strive each and every day as law enforcement, as parents, as community leaders, to make this place that we all love and that we have grew up in, to make it as safe and as crime-free as possible, as drug-free as possible. And we can only do that as we come together as a community with the sheriff's office, with leaders, to make this the safest place that we can for our children, for our grandchildren, and for those to come.
You know, that's a really great question, and I've thought about it a lot. I've sacrificed a lot in my lifetime serving other people, and if you're going to wear a badge and you don't want to serve people, don't wear a badge. It is about serving, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, whether you're black, whether you're white, and that's what we need to be doing. I've served not only as a law enforcement officer for 2/3 of my life, but I've also done it as a civilian. I've been giving back to Franklin County. We have a bike charity we give to needy kids at Christmas since 1999. We've been building wheelchair ramps for people for 5 or 6 years. I serve on the hospice board of directors, which is not a really good thing sometimes because you're dealing with a lot of issues that involve the end of life for people. But I want to see the best community that we can have in Franklin County. And I've worked in a lot of places, and I've sacrificed a lot to bring that training, that experience, and that passion back here to the people of Franklin County. And that's why I'm doing it. Thank you.
I myself have been a servant to the state of Florida for right at 33 years. And it's a big job to go after sheriff. And I want to be able to make a difference, to make a better community, a safer community for our families and kids and our visitors. And just make this place a better place to live overall.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll have you say your wrap-up statement when we bring everyone back up for their conclusion. Those were your 5 questions. Thank you.